grade 12 learners. Welcome to today's session of mathematical literacy. My name is Nikki Wezulu, and today's lesson is proudly brought to you by the Gauteng Department of Education in collaboration with Saibono Discovery Center. Guys, it seems like yesterday, it was only term 1 when we started with our broadcasting lessons, and today we are sitting here today and preparing for your preliminary exams. Tomorrow, you guys will be writing your paper 1, mathematical literacy. So the focus of today's session is going to be to help you and to prepare you for tomorrow's paper. Now, let's look at the outline. Tomorrow, when you get your question paper at 10 to 9, when they say you may start reading, you will see that your question paper, it will be a mathematical literacy question paper. It is paper 1 that you will be writing tomorrow. The paper is out of 150 marks, and the duration of the paper will be 3 hours. So out of that whole question paper, you will have 4 or 5 questions, but mostly you will be having 5 questions in that question paper. Now, these are the topics that you are going to find in paper 1 tomorrow. So if you are going to prepare when you get home, these are the only topics that you should be focusing on for tomorrow's question paper. The first topic, it is the topic of finance. So all the finance that you have done in term 1, they are going to be in tomorrow's question paper. All the data handling that you have done also in term 1, it is going to be in the question paper. And also the section of probability, it is going to be in your paper 1 tomorrow. There's a section of the growth charts. Remember the growth charts, the percentiles, whereby you are determining the health status of a person. You are diagnosing if a person is obese, is overweight, underweight, or healthy. Those you can also expect to find them in your paper 1 tomorrow. And now, okay, sorry, just before going over to the next slide, your finance is a big part of the question paper, because out of 150 marks, 90 marks is going to be under finance. So finance weighs about 60% of the question paper, and then your data handling has 53 marks out of 150, and then your probability will weigh 7 marks out of tomorrow's question paper. So you see that finance, it means that there's a lot of finance that is going to be in tomorrow's paper. Now, this is how your paper is going to be structured. Your question 1, it is going to be between 30 and 35 marks, but it can be out of 28 marks, can be out of 30, out of 32, out of 34, out of 35 marks. And then what you should know is that the questions in your question 1, they are your knowledge questions. By knowledge questions, we mean that those are the basics, very, very easy sections that you are going to come across in question 1. So when you start with tomorrow's paper, we are expecting all of you to start with your question 1. I always tell learners that with question 1, it's either you know it or you don't. If ever you find yourself scratching your head in question 1, you must know that you are doing something wrong, because with question 1, it is the basics. Example, they can tell you that a calculator, it is sold for 250, including VAT. And then they can ask, what does the acronym VAT stand for? It is either you know or you don't. It is not something that is worth scratching your head for, to ask yourself, what does the acronym VAT stand for? Or they can ask you, what percentage is the VAT calculated at? It either you know that it is 15% or you don't. So with question 1, all of you must go for a cure. If you ever find yourself scratching your head, then you know you are doing something wrong. And then the topics that you are going to find in your question 1, you are going to find both data handling and finance in question 1. You can still find probability, but most definitely data handling and finance, you will find them in your question 1. And then question 2 will be strictly finance. So all the topics of finance that you can think of, you are going to find them under question 2. And then for your question 3, you will come across data handling. Everything data handling, you are going to find that in question 3. And then your question 4 and question 5, it will be integration. By integration, it means you are going to find finance and data handling under question 4. You will also find finance and data handling under question 5. So question 1, question 2, question 3, it's everything. It's your routine questions, everything that you have been taught. Calculating the mean, the median, calculating income tax, working with the financial documents, all those things that you have been taught in class. With question 4 and question 5, now they are mixed together. You can find your data handling topics. You can also find your finance topics. Just that with question 4 and 5 now, the level is a bit higher than those in question 2 and question 3. Now, when I told you when I started that finance is big, it is huge. And then when we talk about finance, all those sections that you see on the screen, those are the sections under finance. And all of you have done these sections in your term 1. If you remember your first week of matric, you did the financial documents. So when you go and revise today, you must make sure that you understand your financial documents, because there will definitely be a financial document in the exam. There is taxation, there is the tariff system, the income, expenditure, profit, loss, income and expenditure statements, and your budgets are going to be there. Your cost price, selling price, and the break-even analysis, they are going to be in tomorrow's paper. You must know your interest, your banking loans, investment, inflation, and lastly, your exchange rates. All these sections, they fall under finance. Hence, about 90 marks of tomorrow's paper will be for finance. And then very important, you must know your terminologies. You must be able to explain the different concepts. I know all of you have the glossary of terms in your classwork books. You must be able to explain what is an opening balance. You must be able to explain what is meant by gross income. That if they say a person has this gross income means the income before any deductions. When they talk about a net income, it is the income after deductions. The only thing that is new now when it comes to terminologies, you must be able to explain according to the given context. By context, what am I talking about? It's more like a story. You know, our mislead questions, they are always built around a story. So that story, we call that story context. If they say to you, here is a payslip for Nikki Wezulu, and then her gross income is 13,500. When they say explain the word gross income according to the given context, what is the context about? It is about Nikki Iwe. So when you explain gross income, you will say gross income, it is the money that Nikki Iwe receives before any deductions. That is how you explain according to what? According to the context. And then under financial documents, this is what you must know. You must know how to read information directly from any financial document, be it a payslip. Remember, another word for payslip is a salary advice, or a bank statement, or a budget statement, a bill, an invoice, a bank statement. You must be able to read that information, because all the questions, they will be based on that document that we are working with. You must know that when you are working with a financial document, let's say a bank statement, when they talk about an opening balance, they are referring to the amount at the beginning of the statement. And when they talk about a closing balance, that is the amount at the end of the statement. And then in your statement, you will have two columns. There will be a credit column, there will be a debit column. With the credit column, the credit, it is all the monies that are coming into the account. If you deposit money in your account, if someone is paying money into your bank account, all those monies will be reflected under the credits. Some statement will show a plus next to the amount. The plus will be an indication that it is money that is coming in. Whereas your debit column, your debit indicates the monies that are coming out. If you are withdrawing money from your account, or if the debt collectors are taking money from your account, that money will be reflected under the section of debits. And sometimes it may be indicated by the minus sign. Then you know, if it's a minus sign, it means the money was coming out. But those will be reflected under what? Under debit. Sometimes again, guys, all the monies will be in one column. And then the others will be indicated with a CR. CR indicating what? Indicating credit. Others will be represented with a DR. And DR in this case is not a doctor, but it is what it is, a debit. Then you know that the money was taken out. If it's a credit, the money was coming in. And then there is taxation. Under taxation, these are the items that you must know. The first part, it is the part of UIF and VAT. What you guys need to know is that for someone that is working and they are contributing towards UIF, again, what is UIF? You must know what does the acronym UIF stand for. It is Unemployment Insurance Fund. So the people that are contributing to this, it is an insurance that is meant to assist or to relieve people when they are unable to work due to illness or maternity leave or being retrenched at work. So if that is the case, then you are liable to receive that UIF amount for a certain period of time. And then it stands for Unemployment Insurance Fund. So a person that is working, if I was working for a certain company, I am the employee of that company. So I contribute 1% of my basic salary. Not gross, but the basic, unless if basic and gross are the same. But when I contribute to UIF, I contribute 1% of my basic salary. And my employer, that company that I'm working for, it also contributes 1%. So this money, where are we contributing it? To the fund, the UIF. So in total, the total that goes into the fund now is how much it is? 2%. 1% from myself as the employee, 1% from my employer. Combined, it is 2%. So 2%, it is the total that is contributed towards the UIF. And then, like I said, that you must know your definitions. The examiner can ask you tomorrow, what is the difference between the employer and the employee? I said, I am working for a company. Therefore, I am the employee. I am hired by the company to do the job. And then the company that has hired me to do the job, that company is called what? It is called the employer. Guys, you cannot say the employer is the one that employed. Like, what does that word employed mean? You can't say the employer is the one that employs the employee, or you can't say the employee is the one that is employed by the employer. You understand? You are playing around with words, so you must be specific. And then you must know the acronym VAT. They can ask you tomorrow, what does the acronym VAT stand for? You must know that it is value added tax. They can also ask you the percentage at which VAT is calculated. You must know that VAT is calculated at 15% currently in South Africa. And then your income tax. With income tax, the most important thing, you must know that all the amounts with income tax, they must be in annual format. With income tax, everything that we talk about, we are talking annual. We don't want to see any monthly. So if they give you the scenario, they tell you that an individual earns this amount of money. Maybe that person earns 12,000 per month. Immediately when you see per month, you know that I must take this 12,000 and multiply it by 12. Why do we multiply by 12? Because we want it in the annual format. That is the first thing that you do. But if they say a person earns a certain amount per annum or per year, then you are happy. Your problems have already been solved. And then number 2, you must know how to calculate the taxable income if it is not calculated for you. So when you determine your taxable income, it is equals to your gross income minus your non-taxable income or your non-taxable deductions. So what is your gross? The gross, it is that money that you receive. Let's say your gross here, it was 12,000 multiplied by 12. So 12,000 multiplied by 12. I hope you guys are also using your calculators there. It is 120,000. I'm sorry, I multiplied by 10 here instead of 12. So you check that you don't make those mistakes. It is 144,000. That is what that is the gross. What are the non-taxable income or the non-taxable deductions that I'm referring to? I'm talking about your pension fund. If a person contributes towards pension, I'm talking about UIF if a person is a member of the UIF, or donations if a person is contributing towards any NGOs. If they are contributing those donations, then it means you are not going to tax those amounts. Why do we say they are non-taxable income? We're saying that if they give you a scenario, there is Nigiwe, she earns this amount of money, she's also contributing towards pension fund. The moment you see the word pension fund, then you know that you must first subtract pension fund, and then after subtracting pension fund, then you can calculate the tax. The moment they say a person is contributing towards UIF, you know immediately that I must first subtract the UIF, then after subtracting the UIF, then I can calculate the tax. If they say a person is contributing towards donations, before I calculate the tax, I must subtract the donations, then I can calculate the tax. So these three items, these are your red flags. You don't want them. These are the red flags. The moment you see a red flag, you deal with it, you subtract it, so that it doesn't interfere when you start doing your tax calculations. Sometimes the examiner can be nice and they already give you the taxable income. They tell you that the taxable income of this person is maybe 144,000. When they say taxable income, you jump, you say yes, because it means half of your problems have been solved. You don't have to do all these messy subtractions and all that. Already they have done the job for you. And then most importantly, you must be able to identify the tax bracket. But remember, you can only identify the tax bracket once you have the annual amount. And then after identifying the tax bracket, now you substitute into the formula. Everything that you do, you write it on your answer sheet. When you identify the tax bracket, you rewrite the tax bracket. When you do your substitutions, you indicate how you've substituted your values on the formula. And then once you've calculated your tax, remember, you must always subtract the rebates. The examiner can ask you, what is the meaning of rebates? You tell them that rebate, it is a special discount that is given to all the taxpayers. So anyone that is paying tax is liable for a rebate. Anyone that is paying tax receives that rebate discount. The amount of rebate you will receive will then depend on your age. The older you are, the more rebates you will get. Remember, what is a rebate? It is a special discount that is given to all the taxpayers, despite your age. Everyone that contributes towards income tax, they qualify for that rebate discount. And if they tell you that a person is also a member of medical aid, then you will use the medical aid tax credit table to calculate the medical tax credits, and then you also subtract them. So what are medical tax credits? These are an additional rebate that is given to the taxpayers that are also members of the medical aid. So the medical tax rate is like a rebate. It is also a special discount that is given to the taxpayers that are members of the medical aid. The examiner can ask you again, why are people that are paying medical aid getting an additional discount when they are paying tax? Remember, as South African citizens, we are the responsibility of government. So government must also provide healthcare to all its citizens. So if you don't have medical aid, it means for health purposes, you are utilizing the government services like your clinics, your public clinics, and your public hospital. And the government pays money for those services. So if you have medical aid, when you are sick, instead of going to a public clinic or public hospital, you go to a private clinic or a private hospital or a private doctor. You are paying with your medical aid. So it means you are actually relieving the government from that burden of taking care of your medical bills. You are paying your own medical bills. So it is more like the government's way of showing gratitude, the government's way of saying thank you for relieving me of my responsibilities of taking care of your health, but then rather you are doing that on your own. So as a way of saying thank you, then they give you as a medical aid payer an extra discount when you pay your taxes. I hope you will be able to explain that tomorrow if they ask you why do people get the medical tax credit. And then we've got your favorite topic, the tariff systems. Guys, we have so many tariff systems, and it becomes very difficult to spot which tariffs are going to be asked in the exam. So just to be ready, I know last year's prelim paper, they asked about the electricity tariffs. So my good guess would be this year we mustn't really expect it, because they asked it 2022, even 2021 prelim, they asked the electricity tariff. So my guess would be that this year they might ask about the water tariff. They can ask about telephone or cell phone. It's been a while since they asked about the telephone or cell phone, or they can ask about the parking or the banking tariff. But it doesn't matter. Whichever one they assess us on tomorrow, all of us are going to be able to answer them, because I know our teachers have done justice in the classroom. They have treated all those tariffs that you see there. And then your income and expenditure. Guys, terminology is everything in mathematical literacy. With your income, your expenditure, you have different types of incomes, you have different types of expenditures. The first one, it is the fixed. You must know the difference. You must know what is the meaning of fixed income. You must know what is the meaning of fixed expenditure. The word fixed, it means that not changing. It means it doesn't change. So if we have a fixed income, it means that is the income that stays the same on a monthly basis. I am working for company A, and every month I'm getting paid 7,000 rand as my salary. So that salary that I'm getting on a monthly basis, that is an example of a fixed income. So if you are asked tomorrow to explain what is a fixed income, you will say it is income that stays the same on a monthly basis, or income that does not change. If they say give an example of a fixed income, you tell them a salary. When it comes to expenses, we also have fixed expenses. I'm working for company A, I'm earning a salary of 7,000 rand per month, but I'm staying very far from home. I'm from KZN and I'm working here in Johannesburg, meaning now I had to find a room to rent in Soweto, and then for that room, I'm paying a rent of 1,500 every month. So every single month, I have an agreement with my landlord that I must pay rent of 1,500 rand. So because that rent, it stays the same every month, and it is an expense. What is an expense? It is the money that you spend. So I'm spending money on my rent, and the same money every month. So that rent is an example of my fixed expense or my fixed expenditure. And then there is variable. The variable income or expense. With variable, it does not stay the same. It changes. This month is high, next month is low, or the other month is even higher. When it comes to income, example of variable income would be commission. We see that in especially people that are working in retail, people that are selling cars, the amount of money that you will get for a particular month will depend on the number of cars that you have sold for that particular period. If this was a busy month for you, you sold a lot of cars, it means you are going to get a higher income. But you find that another month it's actually very quiet, you are able to sell only 1 or 2 cars, then it means the amount of money you are going to get for that particular month is not going to be that much. So the income fluctuates, it doesn't stay the same. And the same with the expenses. We have variable expenses. The amount of money that you spend this month is not the same as the amount of money that you spent last month. It won't be the same amount that you will spend next month. A perfect example, buying groceries. The amount of money that I will spend on groceries this month will not be the same amount of money that I will spend on groceries next month or even the previous month. So if you have to give an example of a variable expense that does not stay the same, you can say buying groceries or even buying electricity, because the electricity that we use this month might not be the same amount of electricity that we use in the previous month. You find that in one month there was a lot of load shedding, therefore there wasn't a lot of electricity consumption. And then lastly, there is the occasional income or expenses. The word itself explanatory. Occasional, it means it happens once in a while. Example of occasional income is if maybe your grandmother died and she left you a lump sum of inheritance. That inheritance is something that you are only going to get once, because your grandmother is not going to die every month. It's something that happens once, and then you get your inheritance once. Or for people that are getting bonuses at their workplace, when you get a bonus, it's something that only happens once. So that is an example of occasional income. With occasional expenses, again, they happen once in a while. So examples like a broken car. If your car is broken, it's something you need to spend money to fix the car. But again, that is something that happens once in a while. Otherwise, if your car is going to be broken every month, it means you don't have a car anymore. Then you must purchase a new car. And then, a big challenge to most of our maths lit learners, you must be able to work with big numbers. Sometimes they will give you a number, they say 200 million. You must know, what does this word million mean? Million means what? It actually means how many zeros? 6 zeros. So it means this 200, you add 6 zeros to give you 2 million. You must know, when you talk about a billion, we're actually referring to how many zeros? It is 9 zeros. Sometimes they can give you, they can say 50, 100. If they just say 15, 100, you must know it is 50, and 100 means how many zeros? 100 means 2 zeros. So you must know how to work around your numbers. And when you punch big numbers on your calculator, you must be very careful, because one mistake, it messes up everything. And then again, you must know what is profit. You must know how to calculate your profit. If you have your income and then you subtract your expenses, and then the answer that you get is a positive answer, then it means you are making a profit. But sometimes you find that when you take your income and then you subtract your expenses, you get a negative answer. When the answer is negative, then you are not making a profit, but rather you are making what? You are making a loss, or we say you are running at a deficit. The cost price, selling price, and the break-even analysis, you must know when you are given a scenario, which one is your cost price, guys. Mostly cost price and expenses or expenditure, it is the same thing. It is same WhatsApp group. And then your selling price, it is the same WhatsApp group as your income. If I decide to open a business of selling calculators, and then I'm buying these calculators from China City, and then I'm buying one calculator for 100 rand, and then I'm selling it to you guys for 150. So the 100 rand that I purchased this for, it is my cost price. It is the amount that it cost me to purchase the calculator. It is my expense. And then remember, I'm selling it to you for how much? For 150. That 150, it is my selling price, or it is my income, because that is the money that is coming to me. Remember, income, it is the money that is coming to me. If I wanted to know my profit, I will say my profit, it is the selling price minus the cost price. Remember, how much am I selling this for? I'm selling this for 150. And then how much did I pay to buy it? The cost price was 100 rand. So if I want my profit there, my profit is 50 rands. The reason why I'm doing this example, I want you guys to see the difference between profit and selling price, because most learners get confused then. Profit and selling price are not the same. And then, guys, the break-even point. Hey, this question is very popular. You can be asked tomorrow to explain what is the meaning of break-even or break-even point. So you must mention that break-even point, it is a point where income and expenses of a business are the same. Mostly they will say explain it according to the given context. Your teacher, Nikki Wezulu, is selling calculators to you guys. So what is the break-even point according to the given context? Remember, context is what it is there, the story. So you will say the break-even point, it is the point when the income and the expenses of calculators are the same. Or you can say it is the point whereby Nikiwe's business of selling calculators is not making any profit. It is also not making any loss. So income and expenditure are exactly the same. That is how you will explain the break-even point. The scenario where you are going to come across the break-even point, it is on a graph. So here you will have number of calculators, and then this side you will have the cost in what? In rands. So let's say here you will have 100 rand, and then you will have 150, excuse the handwriting, you will have 200, and then here it will be one calculator, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So you will have two graphs most of the time if they don't ask you to draw the second one. You'll have two graphs. The first graph, it can be labeled graph A, and then the second graph will start here, then they'll say this is graph B, and then the examiner can say label the two graphs. So you must know the graph that starts here at this point you have 0. The graph that starts here at 0, at this point of 0, this will always be your income graph. Why is it the income graph? Why does it start at 0? At 0, it means if you don't sell any calculators, if I don't sell any calculators, then I won't have any income. That is why here we are saying for 0 calculators, then the income will also be 0. That is why the graph that starts at 0, guys, will always be your income graph. So if you get this question tomorrow in the exam, know that the graph at 0, that is your income graph. And then this other graph that starts anywhere here on this axis, anywhere here. In this example, it starts at 100 rands. Then this one, it is going to be your expenses or your expenditure or your cost graph. Why does it start here? The examiner can ask, why does this graph start at 100 and not at 0? This 100, it means that this is a fixed cost. There is a fixed cost that this company is experiencing. So the fixed cost, remember, it is the cost that stays the same on a regular basis. An example of a fixed cost, it could be rent. Maybe where I'm selling these calculators, I'm paying rent, and then my rent is how much? It is 100 rands. So every month, whether I sell calculators or not, it means there is this 100 rand that I must spend. So this 100 rand becomes my fixed cost or my fixed expenditure. That is why the graph will start here and not at 0. And then you've got this part of the graph where the two graphs meet. Where the two graphs meet, this part we call it the break-even point. Remember, we said what is the break-even point? It is a point whereby the income and the expenses of the graph are exactly the same. Look here, the income is here at this point, is below, and the expenses are where? The expenses are on top. What does this mean? It means here at this point, this business is running at a loss because the expenses are more than the income. But at break even, this is where they meet. This is where income and expenses are exactly the same. And after the break-even point, what happens now? The income graph now, it comes where? On top, and then the expenses graph comes where? At the bottom. It means now at this point, this is when now the business is starting to make what? The business is starting to make profit, because this is a point whereby the income is more than the expenses. So guys, what we have just done now, what we are busy doing now, we are busy doing the break-even analysis. That is what is meant by the break-even analysis. So the possible questions that the examiner can ask you tomorrow, they can ask you, how many calculators are at the break-even point? Or how many calculators must be sold to break even? This is the break-even point. So how many calculators must be sold for you to be at that point? 3 calculators. So 3 calculators must be sold for the business to break even. How many calculators must be sold for the business to start making profit? Remember, at 3 calculators, we are already at break even. It means the next calculator that we buy, then the business will definitely start making profit. So after 3, what is the next number? It is 4. You can't say 3,1. We can't have 3,1 calculators. So after 3, we have 4. Then it means how many calculators? 4 calculators must be sold for the business to break even. An interesting question that the examiner can ask, guys, they can ask you to identify the dependent and the independent variables from this situation. Remember, you did that in grade 10 and grade 11 in the patterns and relationships. So always, the items that are here on this axis, you usually call them your x-axis. But I don't want to use that language. The ones that are here, they will always be the independent. By independent, it means they don't need anyone. You know how we always say we are independent women, we are independent generation. It means we don't need an assistance of anyone. We can stand on our own. So in this case, the number of calculators are independent. But if you come to the cost here, then the costs are dependent. What do I mean? So always, these ones on this axis here, they'll always be the dependent. It means the amount of money that I'm gonna pay, that I'm gonna spend, will depend on the number of calculators that I buy. If I buy 1 calculator, I will spend less. But if I buy 100 calculators, I will spend more. That is why we are saying that the cost, it is the dependent variable, because the cost, the money that I'm going to spend, it will depend on the number of calculators that I'm buying. So if you have a graph like this, the values that are here, they'll always reflect your independent, whereas the values that are here on the y-axis will always be your dependent variables. And then your interest and banking, know the difference between the interest amount and the interest rate. And very importantly, in mathematical literacy, when we do calculations for interest, we don't use a formula. So we must do the calculations manually. You must know how to calculate for simple interest manually. You must also know how to perform calculations using compound interest manually. Because of time, girls and boys, we will not be able to do all the questions. So your sections like your hire purchase, go and practice that, because it will also be in the exam tomorrow. So you must know how to explain a hire purchase. You must know how to perform calculations based on hire purchase. The nicest thing about hire purchase is that the calculations that we use there, we use your simple interest calculations for hire purchase. So there's really nothing new there. Your residual payment, your balloon payment, your home loans, most of the time you will be given a statement, a loan statement. So you analyze the statement and then you read the questions based on that statement. And then the inflation and exchange rates, these are some of the things that we are not going to be able to touch for today's lesson because of the time that we don't have. But when you prepare, make sure you prepare, because these are in tomorrow's paper. You must make sure that you know them, you understand them. That was the part of finance, very long. Do you see how big the section of finance is? Finance is basically a mathematical literacy, if I can say that. And then the second part that you must expect to find tomorrow, it is your favorite topic, data handling. Under data handling, we only have these sections, unlike with finance. We've got developing questions, collecting data, classifying and organizing, summarizing, representing, analyzing, and interpreting your data. When it comes to developing questions, remember data handling, again, like finance, you must know your terminologies. You must know how to explain a mode. You must be able to tell us that mode is the value that appears the most in a data set. When you talk about a median, what are you talking about? It is the middle value of an arranged data. Very important, that last part. Median, it is the middle value of an arranged data. Guys, you must be able to explain what are outliers. An outlier, it is a value that is standing out amongst the rest of the values. A value that is way bigger or a value that is way smaller. An example, in your classrooms right now, if I were to collect data on your ages, Most of you are around 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, maybe few to another 22 years old. But that is the age group. And then you have your teacher there, Teacher Nikiwe Zulu. You find that Teacher Nikiwe Zulu is 56 years old. Do you see what is happening? Your ages are right here, and then Teacher Zulu's ages is there. So Teacher Zulu's age, because it is standing above the rest, that is the outlier. It is a value that stands out. It is way bigger or way smaller than the rest of them of the values. You must know the difference between a sample and a population. If I wanted to conduct a research about grade 12 learners in the country, I can't go every door or to every province and interview all the grade 12 learners in the country. I can decide to focus on a province and say I will only conduct my research in the grade 12 learners from Gauteng province. So what is my population? My population, it is the grade 12 learners. That is the population. But with that population, I am only going to work with a sample. And what is my sample? My sample, it is the learners from Gauteng. So you should be able to differentiate between the two. So when it comes to the part of developing questions, this is actually the first stage. The first phase when it comes to data handling. It is the developing questions part. So the way in which you phrase your question, it determines the way in which your data will be collected. So when you phrase your questions, you try by all means to make sure that your questions are not biased. They must be unbiased. What is the difference between biased and unbiased question? If I were to come to your class now, I want to conduct a research on the learner's favorite subject at school. If I come to your class and I ask you guys, is mathematical literacy your favorite subject? That question is biased because I'm already leading you to the answer. I'm already specific that I want you to lean towards the subject mathematical literacy. But if the question was unbiased, then I would ask you guys, what is your favorite subject at school? Then every subject stands a chance of being mentioned. But if I just say, is maths lit your favorite, already it is biased. So when you phrase questions, your questions must be in a way that they are unbiased, because that will affect your statistical process. And then once you've asked your questions, now you must collect your data. When we collect data, we use the following instruments or methods. The first one that we can use, it is your questionnaire. You remember what is a questionnaire? Remember that time during COVID-19 in 2020, when you guys entered a building or rather at school, there was this tool that we were completing. Do you have a sore throat? No. Do you have a headache? No. Have you been in contact with someone that had COVID-19? No. Are you sick? No. Some of you were even lying. Even when you were having a sore throat, you were just ticking no. So that tool, we call it a questionnaire. Most of the time, a questionnaire, you are anonymous. You don't have to write your name or where you are from. You just complete and then you submit. Now, the dangers of using a questionnaire is that sometimes people well, most of the time people are honest because they know that they are remaining anonymous. That is a plus. But then another thing is that some people can just tick yes, 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 no, 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 because they're even lazy to read. And then we've got an interview. We can also use interview as a data collection method. Like the example that I made, if I wanted to determine your favorite subject at school, it means I will have to interact with you. That process of asking you questions and allowing you to respond, that process is called what? An interview. The advantage of using interviews is that you are able to get the responses immediately. I'm asking you a question, you give me a response immediately. The disadvantage of using an interview is that sometimes it can be costly and it can also be time consuming. Imagine if I have to conduct it just in your school, not even in the province, in your school, how many matric learners are there? And if I have to interview every single one of you, that is very time consuming. By costly, I mean that I will have to travel to different places. Obviously, that is going to cost me money to do that. Another method that can be used, it is the method of observation. If I wanted to see the level of late coming at your school, I can be at your school tomorrow from 7:30. By 8 o'clock, all the matric learners must be seated and waiting in their exam centers and waiting for the exam. So if I want to observe the pattern, the late coming at your school, I can be there from 7:30, and then I can just sit at the gate and I keep my sheet. I'm taking record. I'm counting from 8 o'clock. Anyone that comes after 8, they are late. And then I keep record of everyone that were coming after 8. That method that I'm using then, it is called what? It is called the observation method. And then lastly, another data collection method that we can use, it is database. Database, it is where we store our information. If one of the learners would not show up for school tomorrow, you guys are writing a very important paper, your mathematical literacy, and then Lindiwe in your class doesn't show up tomorrow, your teacher will be very worried, and no one even knows where Lindiwe stays. So the first thing that the teacher will do, they will go to the admin office and open the school's database to check for Lindiwe's information, where they can find the parents' contact details and the home address for Lindiwe, so that they can call, they can locate her, or even drive to her place to fetch her. So that is the process of what? Of database. It is also used as an instrument, or rather a method for collecting data. You must know those, will be in the exam. And then we can also classify our data. When we classify our data, we classify it as categorical or numerical. This will definitely be in the exam tomorrow. What is categorical data? The data that expresses information in the form of grouping. If I was grouping you to say girls this side, boys this side, I'm categorizing you according to what? According to gender. So categorical is all about grouping. If I wanted to separate you according to the colors that you are wearing, I'm saying yellow this side, blue this side, green that side. I'm grouping you according to color. So that is an example of categorical data. And then the second one, it is numerical data. This one is self-explanatory. It expresses information in the form of numbers. If I wanted to know how many learners are in class, I have 42 learners in a class. If I want to know what was the past percentage of mathematical literacy in Gauteng province last year, it was 86%. That 86%, 86 is a number. So that is numerical data. And then what you guys must know again is that numerical data can be divided into two sections. The first part, it is the discrete data. Guys, you must know what is discrete data. The second one is continuous data. I always say that discrete data, it is data that can be counted. If I want to know how many learners are in class, I will have to manually count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I wanted to know how many houses in a section, I will have to physically count 1, 2, 3, 4. The moment you have to count, that makes the data to be discrete data. But I know you guys, you like to say it data that contains whole numbers. It's fine. You can say that. It's fine. And then continuous data, with me, I'm saying it's data that can be measured. The moment you have to measure to get it, that makes it continuous data. I cannot guess and estimate what time is it. I need an instrument of time. What is the instrument that is used to measure time? It is a watch or a clock. So the fact that I need an instrument to know what time it is, that makes time to be continuous data. If I wanted to know my weight, I'm worried I'm gaining a lot of weight recently, so I want to check how much I weigh. I cannot estimate that. I will need a bathroom scale to climb on top of the scale, then I can know how much I weigh. The fact that I had to climb on a bathroom scale, I had to weigh myself. It means I had to measure. That makes the data to be continuous. But you guys, with your language, you like to say it is data that has what? That has decimals. Again, I'm not disputing that. And then you must know how to arrange your data. Remember, data can be arranged in ascending or descending order. Again, the examiners like this question. So you must know when they say arrange your data in ascending, it means from the smallest to the biggest. You must be careful with the big numbers. You must also be very careful with numbers that have decimals. And then when it comes to descending order, it means from the biggest going down. The letter D, D means what? D means going down. A, ascending, means going up. Ascending, A for up, from smallest going up. D, down, you are going down. It means from up you are going when? You are going down. So you must know how to arrange your data. This is where you normally collect those 3 marks. Just for arranging data, you've got 2 marks. So after arranging, you count and you check that we've included all your values. And again, you must be able to work with the frequency and the tally table. Just a quick reminder, guys, a quick reminder. If you have the tallies here, let's say it is the tally, and then here it will be frequency. If I have the tally, maybe there are 2 values. This is how you tally 2. You say 2, and then the number would be 2. If I wanted 4 values, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the number would be 4. If I wanted 5 values, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. For 5, then we make the horizontal line, and then the number is 5. Let's say I had 7 values. It would be 1, 2, 3, 4. For 5, we always cancel, and then 6, 7, and then the number is 7. Just a reminder, I know you've been doing this since grade 8, but in case it's in the exam tomorrow, you are ready. Very important, a completed tally table will have a total at the bottom. Then make sure that you complete the total. You add the values. 5 plus 7 is 12, 16, 18, meaning that the total there it is 18. So you know that you must revise your frequency and tally table because they can be in the exam tomorrow. And then summarizing your data. Data can be summarized in 2 ways. The first part, by using the measures of central tendency. When the examiner asks you, what are the measures of central tendency? It is your mode, your median, and your mean. When it comes to this part of data handling, before you even start with the calculations, make sure that your data, it is arranged. And remember, it can be arranged in ascending or descending order. Remember, ascending means from the smallest to the biggest, descending from the biggest to the smallest. So what is mode? When I started, I said mode is the value that appears the most. So from this set of data, what is the value that appears the most? It is 33. Then you say the mode is 33. Right now I have 3 33s. If I had 3 31s as well, it means that my mode was gonna be 31 and 33. And then sometimes guys, there is no value that appears the most. You find that there was only 133, 131. So no value appears the most. If that is the case, you don't say mode is 0. It's wrong. Because when you say mode is 0, you are implying that 0 appears the most. So if there is no mode, you will just say no mode. That is how you answer that. But now let's answer our questions here. If you wanted the median, what is the median? It is the middle value of an arranged data. Let's check. Before we calculate our median, the data must be arranged. And I'm happy our data is arranged. Let's check what is the middle value. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it means now we've got 2 values that are in the middle. So if we've got 2 values in the middle, our median is going to be 29 plus 31. Remember, with the median, we add them and we divide by 2. And then the answer that I'm getting would be equals to 30, meaning that our median is equals to 30. And when it comes to the mean is the sum of all the values divided by the total number of values. So let's add all the values. It is 10 plus 13 plus 25 plus 27 plus 29 plus 31 plus 31 plus 33 plus 33 plus 33. And then after adding all these values, you divide them by their total. How many values are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you will divide by what? By 10. And then you punch these values on your calculator, a functional calculator, guys. You punch all those values, you divide by 10, and then you get your mean, that my mean is equals to this and that. Here, I'm just showing you the principle. You are going to find this in tomorrow's exam. The only difference is that with tomorrow's paper, you will be working with big numbers. Here is just small numbers because I'm giving you the principle. But in the exam, you'll be working with big numbers. But you don't panic because the principle is the same. The median will always be the median. Whether it's 33, whether it's 33,000, whether it's 33 million, it will always be the value that is in the middle. And then we've got the measures of spread. With the measures of spread, we've got the range and your quartiles. Those are your measures of spread. With the measures of spread, again, you make sure that your data is arranged in ascending or descending order. So looking at this data here, what is the range again, guys? Range is the maximum value minus the minimum value. So if I were to calculate the range of this data, I'm gonna say that the maximum value there, it is 81, minus my minimum value there is 63. So if I want the range, I will just say 81 minus 63, and then it will give me the answer of 18. Guys, this question, this is where you must shine. This is where you must collect. You eat, you leave no crumbs. That when they say range, you show off. You always write the formula. Range is the maximum value minus the minimum value. And then you substitute into the formula, then you write your answer. Very important, guys. You guys have this tendency of not showing your calculations. You must always show your calculations when you are working out, because you don't know where marks are allocated. If you just give an answer only, unfortunately, you'll only be awarded 1 mark for that answer. So always show your calculations. And then we have the 5-number summary. Guys, hey, they can ask you tomorrow to give the 5-number summary. The 5-number summary, it is the minimum value, it is the quartile 1, it is the quartile 2, it is your quartile 3, and then lastly, it is your maximum value. That is the 5-number summary. And then remember, your quartile 1, it represents what? 25% of the data. And then your quartile 2 represents what? 50% of the data. And then your quartile 3, it is the lower 75% of the data. And then you've got your maximum point. Now let's do the 5-number summary. When you start with the 5-number summary, our starting point is always the median. The median is what? It is Q2. So Q2, it is also known as what? As the median, also known as 50% of the data, because it is right in the middle. So let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So what is the middle value? 1, 2, 3, 4. This one, this 72, it is the middle value. Therefore, it is our quartile 2. So we've already used 72. We won't use it again. If we want our quartile 1, we are going to focus on this first half of the data. So this first half of the data, we want the middle value. The middle value is here, but we don't know what the middle value is because we've got 2 values that are in the middle. So to find quartile 1, we are going to say 64 plus 64 divided by 2. And then the answer that I'm going to get there is going to be, I think it's going to be 64. So 64 is going to be our quartile 1. Let me just verify, guys. 64, sorry, plus 64. Yes, it is 64. This is our quartile 1. And then to find our quartile 2, we are going to focus on the second half of the data. It means now our quartile 3, it is going to be right here in the middle. So to find quartile 3, we will then say 71 plus 81 divided by 2, because it is 2 values. You take out your calculators, we say 71 plus 81, and then we got 152. We divide that by 2, and then we have the answer of what? Of 76, meaning that our quartile 3 is equals to 76. Now, if I wanted to write my 5 number summary, I will say the minimum value is how much? It is 16.3. And then my quartile 1, it is what? It is 16.4. And then my quartile 2, it is how much? It is 17.2. And then my quartile 3, it is how much? It is 17.6. And then lastly, my maximum value, it is what? It is 18.1. So this is the 5 number summary. And this one, guys, it is normally 5 marks in the exam. If you wanted the interquartile range, remember the interquartile range formula, interquartile range. Don't confuse interquartile range with range. Two different things. Interquartile range would be Q3 minus Q1. We've already calculated our Q3. What is our Q3? It is 76. So we say 76 minus. What is our Q1? Our Q1 is 64. So it's 76 minus 64. And then this is equals to 76 minus 64. You take out your calculators. It is 12. So our interquartile range is equals to 12. And then we've got this one. Guys, I've been doing a lot of talking. I want you guys to quickly try this one. I want you to find the interquartile range of this data. So I will give you exactly 1 minute to do this quickly, and then I will come back. We will continue. 1 minute. So I'm going to move to the next item. So you must know your box and whisker plot, because this will also be in the exam. The example that I want us to focus on, it is the first part of the box and whisker. If it is like this value here, it represents your minimum. This one, it is your Q1. This one, it is your Q2, which is your median. And then this one, it is your Q3. And then lastly, this one, it is your maximum value. So this is actually an example of your 5 number summary. This is how you identify your 5 number summary on a box and whisker plot, meaning that your minimum value is what? Is 60. Your quartile 1 is what? It is 80, and so on and so on. And then your probability, you must know your probability. The first part, you must know your probability scale, that the probability scale ranges from 0 to 1, or you can say from 0% to 100%. 0, this part, it means it is impossible. There is no way that thing is happening. If it is not there, the chances of it happening are 0%. And then if we are 100% sure that it is happening tomorrow, we know that definitely no matter what, it is going to happen, then we say we are 100%. The probability is 100%, or we can say the probability is 1. It means that it will definitely happen. If we are not sure that, you know what, it might happen, it might not happen, it means the chances are 50%, or it is half, or it is 0.5. So it is equally likely or unlikely. It can happen, it might not happen. If the chances of it happening are very small, then we say it is unlikely. That is where you know that it is 1/4 or it is 25% or is 0.25. If the values ranges around this value, it might not always be exact, but if it ranges around there, then we know that it is unlikely. The chances are very slim. But if the chances of it happening are very high, the chances of you guys passing tomorrow's test are very high, then we say that it is likely to happen. So it is very, very much likely that you guys are going to pass tomorrow's paper. And then guys, you must know the tree diagram. An example of a tree diagram, if maybe there's this couple and they are planning to have 2 kids. So the first time that they have kids, they try for kids, we know that they can either have what? A boy or a girl. Let's say the first child was a boy. If they want to try for the second child, what are the options that they have? The first child that they can have, it can either be the second child, it can either be a boy or it can be a girl. Let's say the first child that they had was not a boy, but rather it was a girl. What will the second child be? Then the second child will either be a boy or a girl. So this tree diagram, it represents the first trial, and then this one, it is then the second trial. So very important with the tree diagram, you must have your outcomes here. The outcomes is what it is. The first child, it can be a boy. The second child can be a boy. So our outcomes, it is BB. And then the second outcome, the first child can be a boy, but then the second child be a girl. So what is the outcome? We say it is being G. The third option, it can be a first child being a girl and then a second child being a boy. So now when you do the option, it is G, B. Or the person can have a girl and a girl. Both the kids can be girls. So the outcome is girl and a girl. Then in total here you're working with how many options? 1, 2, 3, 4. So we are working with a total of 4 outcomes. So you must know your tree diagram. In the exam, of course, you won't be expected to draw the tree diagram. You might be given an incomplete tree diagram. Yours will be to complete the tree diagram, and thereafter you will be asked questions based on the tree diagram. From this tree diagram, I can ask you, what is the probability of having 2 girls? Your focus now is on the outcomes. You look at the outcomes. Do we have any option of 2 girls then? There, it is 2 girls. So it is one possibility. Out of how many outcomes? Out of a total of 4. So the answer is 1/4. Go and revise your probability, your tree diagram especially, and your two-way tables. And now, the possible exam questions. Now we are answering questions that you will expect for tomorrow's paper. Question 1. Mr. Dean Ntuli has an account at Fashion Express, which is part of the TFG group. At Fashion Express, a customer can have both a 6-month or a 12-month revolving credit repayment option. Alongside is Mr. Ntuli's statement for the period 14 January 2021 to 12 February 2021. Guys, the issue with the 6-month and the 12-month, this is a clothing store. It means this person, Mr. Ntuli, buys clothes on credit and then he pays the money on monthly installments. So there are 2 options how he can pay. He can either pay the debt in 6 months or he can pay it within the 12-month period. Now, here is the trick. If you pay it within the 6-month period, it means you are taking a shorter time and your installment will be higher because you must finish fast. And then about the 12-month period, because it is longer, then it means your installment can be lesser because you've stretched it for a period of 12 months. But the trick here is that because the 12 months you are taking longer, they are going to include interest. Whereas the 6 months, because you are taking a shorter time, most of the time there is no interest. If there's any, it is lesser, way lesser than the 12-month option. So if you have to choose between a shorter and a longer period to repay a debt, you always choose the shortest one, because then it means lesser interest rate. In this case, in the context of clothing accounts, it means 0% interest. Now, let's scrutinize the financial document. This is what you'll be doing tomorrow. When you get a financial document, you study it, you understand it, because this is where your answers are. Sharp. So we've got payments on the statement. The payment is 195. It means it is the money that was paid by Mr. Ntuli. How do we know that it was paid? Because there is this word here. What does this word mean? It means credit. It means it is the money that the account holder paid. And then there is the two parts of the statement. There is the 6 months, there is the 12 months. Let's look at the 6 months revolving credit. With the 6 months revolving credit, there is a separate opening balance. And the opening balance there is how much? It is 100 rands. And because there's no credit next to it, it means this is the 100 rands that Mr. Ntuli owes the shop. And then on the 14th of January, he bought something at Fashion Express Eshowe. We say he bought because they say purchase. And that item was worth how much? It was worth 269 rand. And then on that same day, there was also another purchase. The purchase for how much? For 699 rand. On the 25th of January, there was HO. HO is head office, debit order store. So we don't know whether this money was paid in or it was taken out. But then the debit order, it says debit order PMT. PMT, it stands for what? For payment. It was 30 rands. And then because it has a CR, it means Mr. Ntuli was paying. It means the head office debited the money from Mr. Ntuli's bank account into his clothing account. So it means Mr. Ntuli paid the 30 rands. And then the installment now for the 6 months revolving credit was now 175. So the money that is due, that he must pay, it is 175. And then the closing balance, the total money that Mr. Ntuli owes for the 6 month period, it is how much? It is 1,038. This is the money that he owes under what? Under the 6 months revolving credit. And then now, when it comes to the second option, on the 12 months revolving credit, there is an opening balance for the 12 months again. So for 12 months, he owes 1,462 and 72. That is the opening balance. That is the amount of money that he owed at the beginning of the statement. And then on the 25th of January, there was a debit order from head office. Remember, it's the same person, Mr. Ntuli. And then it was a debit order payment. Because it's CR, it means it was the money that was coming from Mr. Ntuli's account. And how much was it? It was 165. And then on the 12th of February, there was interest. They charged him interest. Remember what I said when I started? That the 12th month, because the period is longer, therefore they will charge an interest. And how much interest are they charging? They are charging 23 Rand 35 cents on interest. And then the installment for the 12-month revolving period, it is 165. And then the amount that is due for the 12-month period, it is also 165. And then the closing balance for this option of 12 months, the closing balance is 1,321. This tells us that in total, Mr. Ntuli actually owes 1,038 plus 1,321. This is the total amount of money that this guy owes. So here it says my current credit allocation. So this is the credit that they gave him when he opened this account, that okay, you can buy up to 8,481. That was the amount of money that he could spend at the shop. But what can I spend? So currently, what he can, remember, he owes. So they had to subtract the money that he owes. So currently, what he can spend, he can only spend 6,121 because he's already started spending. So this is the only amount of money that is left that he can spend. And then what is his installment? Every month, I mean the coming month, it means his installment now is going to be how much? 340 340. Where is the 340 coming from? It is this 175 from the 6 months plus this 165 from the 12 months. When you combine the two, they give you 340. How much am I in arrears? 0, 0. Remember, the arrears is when you fall behind with your debt, when you don't pay on time. So Mr. Ntuli is a good customer. He's always paying on time. I think that is one of the reasons why he opted for debit order, so that he doesn't fall behind and ends up being in arrears. And then we've got the closing balance. Now, the closing balance for the 12-month revolving period, it is 1,321 and 7 cents. So it means that is the total amount of money that he owes. Or what is my balance? It is 2,359 and 7. So in the exam, you wonder, where is this 2,359 coming from? It comes from where? This one. Remember, I said the closing balance for the 12 months plus the closing balance for the 6 months. When you add them together, they will give you that 2,359. Now, let's go to the possible questions. I've scrutinized my statement. Whatever question I get, I know where I'm going because I know that all the answers are in the document. What was the opening balance for the 6-month revolving period? The 6 month, it is the first one. Where is opening balance? Here is opening balance. So what was the opening balance? This was the opening balance. It was 100 rands. By the time the statement was released, when it was released, by those dates, by the time the statement was released, write down how much Mr. Ntuli could spend on his account. Remember, we were scrutinizing this. We go there at the bottom where it says, what can I spend? How much can he spend? He can spend 6,121 because he already spent the other money. Initially, he was given 8,481, but now he can only spend 6,121. Calculate the percentage decrease from the credit allocation of 8,481 to the amount that he can spend. What can he spend again? He can spend 6,121. So what he can spend, I'm going to write it here. It is 6,121. That is the amount that he can spend. So if we want the percentage decrease, percentage increase, percentage decrease, it's the same thing. If the answer is negative, then you know that it means it's actually a decrease. So I'm just going to say this. I don't have enough space. I'm going to write here the old value minus the new, because we want the decrease from this one, from the old, from 8,000. 8,000 is our original value. Or should I say original? Instead of old, let me say original. Original allocation divided by the original multiplied by 100. So what is our original? It is 84.81 minus the new amount that he can spend. It is 61.21 all over 84.81. Then we times by 100. I hope you guys are gonna punch this on your calculators, guys. Let's do it together. We say 84.81 minus 61.21, and then we divide everything by 84.81. And then what is the answer that we are getting? I'm getting 0.27, and then we times by 100. I almost forgot to times by 100. Multiply by 100. The answer that I'm getting there, I'm getting 27.83%. Unless if they say give your answer rounded to the nearest percentage, then you'll give the answer as a whole number. Show how the closing balance of 1,321 and 7 cents for the 12-month revolving period was calculated. The mistake that you guys make in this question, you want to explain. Hey, when you say show, we want you to show using calculation. So they're talking about what there? The 12 month. You go to the 12 months. What was the closing? It is 1,321 1,321. You must show how it was determined. So you start with what? With the opening balance. It is 1,462 and 72 cents. Remember this 165, it was a credit. It means this is the money that he paid. So you are not going to include it in the debt, but you are going to take it out because it's already paid, minus 165. But then he was charged interest. So this interest, because he owes it, it is part of the debt. Then you are going to add the interest of how much? Of 23 rand and 35 cents. So this is how you show. You punch this in your calculator, it must give you the 1,321 and 7 cents. That is how you show. How much interest was charged on the 12th of February? This is the 12th of February. This is the interest, but the question said how much. So how much was charged? It was 23 rand and 35 cents. Question 2, income tax. James, a 67-year-old, has an annual taxable income of 364,321 per year. He contributes towards a medical aid for himself and his wife. So what makes me happy here is that the amount is annual. I'm happy. And then again, it is a taxable income, meaning they've already done the work for me. Ours is just to identify the relevant tax rate, the relevant bracket, and do our calculations. So we have our tax tables. The first table, it is our tax threshold. Guys, when we talk about a threshold, it determines whether a person should be paying tax or not. That is the main purpose of a tax threshold. If they ask you tomorrow, what is the tax threshold? You tell them it determines whether a person should be paying tax or not. So let's look at our taxpayer. He is 67. So 67 is between the ages of 65 and 75. And what is his annual taxable income? It is 364. So for this age, how much should you be earning? The minimum that you must earn for you to start paying tax. The minimum that you must earn, it is 135,150. So James is earning way more than that. It means James definitely qualifies to be paying tax because his annual taxable income is way more than what his tax threshold is saying. And then when you talk about the tax rebate, remember I said it is that special discount that we give to the taxpayers, and it depends on the age. All the taxpayers, it doesn't matter how old you are, young or old, they all get this discount of 15,714 when they're paying tax. But now if you are above 65, here it says age 65, okay, it means from 65 years and above, then you will get an additional 8,613. If you are above 75, let's say you were 80 years old, you will also get an additional 2,817. So guys, if you were 80 years old, you will get 3 rebates, 3 discounts: the primary rebate, secondary rebate, and the tertiary rebate. And then when it comes to the medical aid, remember it's a credit, but the problem with this table is that it is the monthly tax credit. So when you calculate the credit that a person will receive here, you will always multiply by 12 to convert it to per annum. And what you guys need to understand is that the main member is the person that is paying tax. In this case, it is Mr. James. And then the first dependent is whoever the taxpayer has as in their medical aid. If I was paying medical aid for myself and for my child, when you calculate my tax credit, you are going to say the main member, which is myself, and my child. My child is going to be my first dependent. First dependent doesn't mean that it must be a spouse. First dependent is anyone that is in your medical aid first. That is your first dependent. So it can be me and a child. It can be me and my husband. It doesn't mean that a first dependent is a spouse. And then the last table, it is now the tax rate table. Now when we calculate tax, we've got the taxable income here. We also have the taxable income. So it must say taxable income for you to bring it here. The taxable income here is 364. So we go to the table. 364, nope, not there. It's definitely here. So it means 364 is going to be in bracket number 3. So this is where now we are going to substitute in this table and do the calculations and calculate the amount of tax that this person is going to pay should the question arise. Here is the possible question. Explain the meaning of the term taxable income. Remember, this is James' taxable income. And I said, looking into the table, once you see the word taxable income, you know the table also has taxable income. Then you know you must come. You are ready for the table. So what is taxable income? Taxable income means the income that is going to be taxed, or the income that has tax applied on it. I think to make it shorter, we can say it is the income that is going to be taxed. I think this will be way easier for you. Or the income that has tax applied on it. When we are going to tax it, we call it a taxable income. What is the name of the organization that is responsible for the collection of taxes in South Africa? That organization, all of you, it is called what? It is called SARS. What SARS is just an acronym. What does it stand for? It stands for South African. All of you must know this. It is South African Revenue Services. Remember, revenue is like your taxes, So that organization, it is the South African Revenue Services. Write down as a simplified ratio. Remember ratios? We did them in grade 10. The tax threshold of a person below the age of 65. So when you write a ratio, the statement, you always start with the below 65. So when you write it, you're going to say below 65 is to the tax threshold of a person ages 65 to 75. So 65 to 75. This is how you are going to write a ratio. Then you go to your tax threshold, because they're talking about the threshold. You check below 65. What is the amount there? It is 87,300. And then 65 and 75, this is 65 and 75. The amount there is how much? It is 135, 150. This is how you write as a ratio. But the question said in simplified ratio. So how do you simplify ratio? I always tell learners that you on the side, this is what you're going to do on your calculator. So on the calculator, you are going to punch in 87,300, and then you are going to say divided by 135,150. Remember this part, guys, you don't show it. You are taking shortcuts. You are stealing. So this part here, when you are stealing, you don't show it. So punch this on your calculator. I'm pressing 87,300, and I'm saying divided by 135, 150. If you get a decimal, press SD. When you press SD, it will give you a fraction. That is for Casio. For sharp, I don't remember this, but there's a button that you press that if it gives you a decimal, when you press that button, it makes it a fraction. So what I'm getting on the calculator, I'm getting 582 divided by 901. Remember, this is on the side, on your scribbler paper. Now when I go and answer, it means simplified ratio. I actually have 582 is to what? Is to 901, and this is the answer in the simplified ratio. So your calculator must work for you. You are allowed to use your calculator. Determine the tax rebate amount James qualifies for. the most important thing about age, they can ask you tomorrow, why is age important when it comes to income tax? Age is important for the purposes of what? Of rebates, so that we know how much rebates a person actually qualifies for. Remember, I said primary rebate is for all individuals. Everyone gets the primary rebate. So James will definitely get the 15,714. And then James is 67. So since he's 67, 67 falls between 65 and 75. It means he gets an additional 8,613. So you punch in, and then we are going to say, I hope you guys are using your calculators there. We say 15,714. You must check on me. I must give you right answers. If I'm not giving you the correct answer, you must please make sure that you correct me. 15,714 plus 8,613. The answer that I'm getting, guys, I'm getting 24,327. I hope that is what you guys are also getting there. I said 24,327. So this is the rebate that James is going to get because of his age. Remember when I started, I said the older you are, the more rebate you will get. Calculate James's annual medical aid credits. Remember, he contributes towards medical aid for himself, his person number 1, and his wife. Wife is person number 2. So according to the table, the main member, which is James number 1, he will get 310. His wife is number 2. She will get how much? 310. So when you calculate the credit, the discount, it will be 310 plus 310. When you add the 2, it gives you how much? 620. But remember, this 620, it is monthly. But the question wants what? It wants annual. So we say 620 multiplied by 12. So we punch in our calculators. We say 620 multiplied by 12. Sorry, guys, punch it in your calculator there, please, and just double check if I've got this right answer. I've got 7,440. I hope you guys are getting the same one, 7,440. I hope that is the same that you guys are getting that side there. Now we must determine James' annual tax amount that is payable. Remember, we have his taxable income. This is the taxable income, and it's in annual format, so we are happy. On the table, this is where it says taxable income. And then we agreed when we started that James is in bracket number 3, because 364, it falls here within this range. So we are going to rewrite the formula. This is the formula. We are going to rewrite the formula. It is 70,352 plus 31% of the taxable income. What is the taxable income again? 364,321 minus, always, we are always going to minus 337,800, and then you close the bracket. Guys, you can do this step by step, or you can just punch everything as it is in your calculator. It is up to you. You will not lose any marks. Remember, in Mathslit, what is the meaning of means we multiply. And then I'm gonna say 364 321 minus 337,800 is 337,800. Guys, this is where calculators come in. You must make sure you punch in every number as it is. And then remember to call me out when I'm making mistakes, guys, and so that I don't give you the wrong answers. 31% multiply, open the bracket, we've got 364 321. Make sure that you punch in all the numbers, guys. You are not in a rush. 337,800. Then you close the brackets. I am getting 78,000 573 and 51 cents. That is what I'm getting. I hope you guys are getting the same amount, but remember, he qualifies for that discount. All taxpayers qualifies for rebate. So we say minus the rebate. He's also paying medical aid. So we are also going to say minus medical aid. Then now let's substitute our rebate and medical aid 78. Remember we calculated rebates in the previous question and the medical aid. Those values, yes, we are going to use those values. Go ahead and get those values, 78,573 and 51. The rebate, our rebate was 24,327. And then the medical aid was 7,440. Those are the values that we got. I hope you still got them. 24,327 minus 7,440. And then we are getting how much? 46,806 and 51 cents. So this is the annual amount of tax that James is going to pay, because they said annual. If they had said monthly, then you are going to take this amount and then you're going to divide it by 12 to get the monthly tax that is payable. But because they said annual, we leave it there. Give 2 reasons why it is necessary for citizens to pay personal income tax. Remember, guys, the money that we pay towards tax, it is the money that is collected by the organization, which is the South African Revenue Services. But that money is actually used by the government. The government is using that money to run the country. So that money can be used for infrastructure, building schools, building hospitals, police station, building roads. That money is also used to pay the public servants. What are the public servants? Us teachers, your police, your nurses. So there's so much that is actually being done by the money that we use to pay to tax. So we said we can say for buildings, which buildings? Like schools, hospitals, police stations, etc. And then we say also payment of public servants. Oh, guys, also the social grants payments of public servants. And remember, who are the public servants? People that are working for the government, like us as teachers. Public servants. We can also say to pay what? To pay social grants. Social grant, or someone can say social security. Social grants. But because the questions wanted only 2, guys, when they say give 2, you give 2. You don't go extra like myself. You'll be penalized. When they say give 2, you give 2. When they want 1, you give only 1 reason. Here is an example of a banking tariff. They say Angie subscribes to self-service banking in a space of a month. She performs the following transactions. She deposits 4,000 in cash at US Bank ATM. She withdraws 750 cash over the counter in a US Bank branch. She withdraws 250 cash at another bank's ATM. With banking tariff, it's all about the banking fee structure, how the bank is using, how the bank is actually calculating the bank charges. Because for every transaction that you perform in your bank account, you are charged the banking fees. So this table is a guideline on how they are charging. It's actually a guideline for US Bank. The name of the bank is US Bank, or you can say US Bank. So for this bank, they charge a monthly admin fee of 12 rand, meaning every month when they calculate your bank charges, they are also going to include then the 12 rands. And then internet banking is free, cell phone banking is also free. If you are going to deposit a check, they will charge you 17 rand. If you are going to make a deposit at the ATM, they are going to charge you 0.65% of the value. But the minimum is 7%. It means if they are calculating your bank charges and they amount to 3 rands, they won't charge you 3 rands, but they will charge you this amount of 700, because 7 rands. this is where they start charging. If you're going to make a deposit at the branch, it means when you get inside the bank and then there's a teller that is assisting you, then they're going to charge you 1.25% of the value, and the minimum there is 19 rand 20 cents. It means if they calculate your charge when you deposit money inside the bank and they find that it is 10 rands, they won't charge you 10 rand, but they will charge you 19 rand 20 cents. The reason why it is more expensive when you go inside the bank rather than when you use the ATM is like they are charging you for their services, because now you want a human service, you want a one-on-one rather than doing the whole thing outside in the ATM. So they are charging you extra because of the human services. If you're going to withdraw cash using their ATM, the US ATM, they are going to charge you 7.17 rand per 100 rand or part thereof. This is very, very important. Or part thereof. I actually wanted to explain this. Or part thereof, it means, yeah, this is per 100 rand, but it means if you were withdrawing 150, how many 100 rands are there? There's actually 100 rands, but because there is this part, they will charge you for 200 rands. I hope you understand. If you were withdrawing maybe 410, how many 100 rands are there? It is 400 rands, but because there's this part they also count it as a 100 rand. Therefore, it's gonna be +1. Therefore, they will charge you for 400 rands. How many 100 rands? 500 rands. And then if you are using the ATM or other banks, they're gonna charge you 5 rand plus a US fee. What is the US fee? It is this fee here that is on top there. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys understand, especially this part of the part then off. So if you were to calculate the cost of someone that withdrew 410, you will just say 7.17 per means we multiply. How many 100 rands here? We said we are charging you for 500 rands, so it will be times 5. Then you will say 7.7 multiplied by 5, and then the answer would be 38 rands, meaning that they will charge you 38 rand and 50 cents if you were withdrawing cash 410 were at the US ATM. This is just the bank charge for that one transaction. Guys, like I said, because of time, it is not possible to do everything. So tonight, as you do your final touches, also look into the banking tariff to remind yourself. And then we've got the cell phone or telephone tariffs. Tato has a landline telephone. Her service provider offers her a choice of their new call packages. Below is a table showing 2 different call packages that they offer. So there is package A, there is also package B. What is happening at package A? There is a monthly rental of 100 rand, meaning every month. They say monthly rental, it means that telephone is not Tato's, she's renting it out. So every month she must pay the service provider how much? 100 rands. Remember when I was doing the break-even analysis, I said I was paying rent for how much? For 100 rand. So this is the case. A rental of the telephone for 100 rand. So whatever she does every month, she must always say plus 100 rand. The first 100 minutes are free. So in that package, the first 100 that are given to her, they are free. And now the call costs are 80 cents per minute. So now for every call that she's making, it's gonna cost her 80 cents per minute. And then we've got call package B. It also has a monthly rental of 200 rands. And then the first 150 minutes are free. And then this one, the call costs are 60 cents per minute. Guys, you might be expected to convert between cents and rands. When they give you money in cents, maybe they say 50 cents, because we don't work with cents anymore, and then you have to convert this from cents to rands. We know that from cents to rands, you are moving from a smaller unit to a bigger unit. Therefore, you are going to divide. You are going to divide by what? By 100, which will give you how much? 0.5, meaning that this is your your 50 cents. And this is how we write it. Sometimes they'll say you can have 1,000, or no, I just want, okay, let me say maybe you had 15 rand, and then if you want to convert this to cents, you are moving from a bigger unit to a smaller unit, therefore we multiply, but the conversion factor is always 100. It means that it will be 1,500 cents, 1,500 cents. So make sure that you remember the conversion between rands and cents. Write down a formula that can be used to calculate the total cost in rand for package B. So I'm going to show you a formula for package B, but I will not do the same for package A. You guys will do for package A. So the monthly rental, so the cost would be the monthly rental. Monthly rental always is going to be plus. And then they say what? They say the first 150 minutes are free. So we'll normally say plus the number of minutes, put them in the bracket, minus the free minutes, and then we multiply by the cost per minute. Multiply by cost per minute. I hope you guys can see there, but this is incomplete. You haven't done anything, so you haven't even started answering the question. So when you answer the question now, you will say cost equals to what is the monthly rental that is given there. It is 200 rand. The monthly rental, it is 200 rand plus what is the number of minutes? We don't have it. So N stands for what? It stands for number of minutes, minus, do we have the free minutes? Yes. How many free minutes are given? 150 minutes. So we'll say N minus 150. And then we multiply. What is the cost per minute? The cost is 60 cents per minute. So this is 0.60. Now you are speaking. This is how you write a formula. So your formula must always have the values. The only thing that will be missing, it is your N. N stands for what? For the number of units. So if you get a question whereby you have to come up with a formula, you remember that. And then for call package A, guys, you are going to do the same. You are going to find a formula, and then from that formula, you calculate the cost of using 700 minutes. And then just a quick reminder, our time is almost up, of the simple and compound interest. Peter wants to invest 1,500 that he got from his uncle. Two different institutions are offering him the following. A is 1,500 invested for 2 years at 8% simple interest. B, the same amount, 1,500, the same period, 2 years. The only thing that is different here, it is 7.5% compound interest. So which of the investments gives a higher return at the end of the period? Let's look at the first option. It is for 2 years. It is simple interest. With simple interest, straightforward. So the invested amount, it is 1,500 multiplied by our interest rate, it is 8. I like to write it as 8 over 100. This is where now your calculator, guys, you can never survive tomorrow without a calculator. Make sure you come into the exam with a functional calculator. So it's 8 over 100. What is the answer? It is 120. What is this 120? This is the interest after 1 year. But how long is the investment? The investment is for 2 years. So we are going to take the interest of 120 and then we multiply by 2 years, which is going to give us how much? 240. So this is the interest that we are going to get after 2 years. So if I want the final amount, if I want to show off and calculate the final amount, I will say 1,500 plus 240, which will give us how much? It will give us 1,740. It means if this person invests using option number A, at the end of 2 years, this person will have 1,740, which gives an interest rate of how much? Of 240. That is if they go for the option of simple interest. Second option is investing for 2 years, but using what? Using compound interest. But for compound interest, remember, it is not the same as simple interest. With compound interest, interest is calculated on top of another interest. So with compound interest, you'll start with year 1. So you'll say for year 1, how much was invested? It was 1,500 multiplied by 7.5%. And then let's punch in our calculators. We say 1,500 multiplied by 7.5 over 100 to get the answer of 112 and 15. This is just the interest. So we want to know at the end of that year, what is the final amount? The final amount would be 1,500 plus 112 and 50 cents. So the interest plus 1,500, I'm getting the answer of 1,612 and 50 cents. So this is our new amount. It already includes interest. So when we go to year number 2, we no longer work with the original amount that was invested. We work with the new amount. So we'll say the 1,612 and 50, we multiply by the interest rate of 7.5 over 100. And then what is the answer? Punch there in your calculators. It is 7.5 over 100. And then I'm getting the answer of 120 and 99,375. Very important, you write the values as they are. You will only round off your final answer. So now I want to know the final amount after year 2. I'm gonna take this 1,612 and 50 and then plus the interest of how much? Of 120,9375. So the final amount would be, punch there on your calculators, the answer would be 1,733, remember it is 4,375, and I said you round off the final answer now. It is 1,733 and 44 cents. Because it's money, we round it to 2 decimal places. And what was the question? The question was asking which one will yield more interest. So this one is the compound interest. Remember, with simple interest, what was our final amount? Our final amount was 1,740. And then if you compare with compound interest, it's 1,733. Guys, I hope I've been coming all right with my calculations. If I made a mistake, I hope you guys will be able to correct it, because as far as the principle is concerned, everything is it's correct, 100% correct. So the simple interest offers 1,740, whereas the compound interest offers 1,733. So which one offers more interest? Obviously, simple interest. As you can see, the final amount is bigger than the final amount of compound interest. So if you have to weigh the two options, then you'll definitely go for the simple interest. And then we've got this. Remember, I said you can also expect this in the exam tomorrow, your growth charts and your percentiles. Mr. Apollis is an avid dog enthusiast. This was also in your June exam. He is worried that his toy poodle puppy, it's a dog, guys. It's a dog, it's just a fancy name. But at the end of the day, it's a puppy, a baby dog. Might be overweight and refers to the chart below as a guide. So on our chart here, we've got the weeks, the age of the dog in weeks, from 0 weeks up to 55 weeks. And then this side, we've got the body weight, and the weight is given in what? In grams. So it's from 0 up until 5,500 grams. And then this side, guys, we've got what? We've got the percentages. Remember the percentages, percentiles. When you talk about percentiles, we are talking about out of 100. We are talking about percentages. The first question, determine the weight of a 30-week-old puppy. Guys, you cannot answer this question if you don't have a ruler, because with the ruler, you are going to draw a line. You're going to look at 30 weeks, and then you draw your straight line. And then where is it? It's on the 25th percentile. Remember I said percentiles and percentages, same WhatsApp group. So 25th percentile is actually at 25%. So where do they meet? They meet here. What was the question? Determine the weight. What is it? So it is here. That puppy is here. So what is the weight there? It is 2,500 grams. So the weight is 2,500 grams. So you need your ruler so that you can be accurate, and don't do it like me. So there. Explain what it means if a dog's weight is classified on the 75th percentile. Guys, percentiles, percentages, same WhatsApp group. Here, I've got 0%. And then when it's complete here, I've got 100%. Remember the probability scale. So here it is the first 25%. Here it is 50%. And then here it is 75%. So they say the dog's weight is on the 75th percentile. So this is where the dog is. What does it mean? It means 75% of other puppies have, I don't have enough space here. It means 75, it's at the 75th percentile. It means 75% of the other puppies, they have the weight that is the same as these dogs or less, because this puppy is at 75%. It's either the other dogs have a weight of 75% or less. And since here it is 75%, what are we left with here? Between 75 and 100, we are left with what? With 25. And the remaining 25% of the puppies, they have a weight that is the same of these puppies or more, because this 25, it is more than the 75 here. I hope you guys understand. If they said it was at the 50th percentile, you will still draw your scale to say that it's 0, it's 25, it is 50, it is 75, it is 100. If they had said it's at the 50th percentile, which is the average, the median, then it would mean that 50% of the puppies have a weight that is equal or less than the weight of this particular puppy. Again, 50% of the other puppies, they have a weight that is equal or more than the weight of this particular puppy. That is how you interpret the percentile. If they were saying that this puppy is at the 5th percentile, your 5th percentile, again, you are having 0 here, you are having 100, and then you have 25, you have 50, you have 75. So your 5th percentile is right here. It means your puppy is here. So from 100 minus 5, you have 95. So it means 95% of the puppies have a weight that is equals to this or above, whereas only 5% have a weight status that is equals to this or less than the weight of this puppy. So this is how you interpret your percentiles. Determine Mr. Apolli's dog weighs 4.5 kg at 45 weeks. Determine on which percentile its age-weight ratio is. Remember, our graph here, the weight is given in grams. And already we have a problem here because our mass is given as kilograms. So to convert from kilograms to grams, remember, the King Henry, you multiply by 1,000, which will give us 4,500 grams. So where is 4,500 grams? Here is 4,500. How old is the puppy? It is 45 weeks. So then, and then this is where they meet. So what is the percentile? It is at it's not really the 90th, it's just above the 90th percentile. So the answer is above the 90th percentile, but it's also below the 95th. So you can say between 90 and 95th percentile. Girls and boys, unfortunately, like I said at the beginning of our lesson, that we do not have enough time, but I think we've covered enough to prepare you for tomorrow's paper. So make sure that tonight, before you sleep, you revise some of the sections that we could not do in this lesson, like your water tariffs. Go and practice your water tariffs, your transport tariffs, your cell phone tariffs, then exchange rates, your inflation, so that when you sit for your paper one tomorrow, you eat everything and you leave no crumbs. I will see you again tomorrow, same time, same place, as we prepare for our paper two. Good luck, guys. And by the way, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Nikki Wezulu. Thank you so much. I will see you tomorrow.